Have you ever wondered why it could be so difficult to change a pattern even after you're aware of it? So, for example, you might have a habit, might be a bad habit, or it might just be a reoccurring pattern. Maybe it's like a relationship pattern, and then the pattern's happening over and over again. And even after you're aware of it, it could be just so difficult to change. So, why is that? In some sense, what's happening here is that you're conscious of this pattern, you're aware of it, but at the same time, there's something about this pattern that you're unconscious or unaware about. And since there's some elements of unconsciousness in it, it's hard to know exactly how to address the pattern and how to change it. And so in this video, we're going to talk exactly about the different levels of awareness within our patterns, and then how you can begin to address them and change them. Now, the first time I experienced this firsthand, in I might say very, very extreme manner, was when I was doing these meditations early in the morning a few years ago. And I would meditate for a few hours, and every once in a while I would have these satori experiences. So these are experiences that are very blissful, that are like full of oneness, and it's like a super conscious state. The subject and object disappear. It's just, pure oneness. And then a few hours later, I would go to my basement and I would smoke a cigarette. So I was doing both of these things. On one end, I was having a very conscious experience. And on the other side, I was having this experience smoking, which was not so conscious. Okay. But here's the paradox. I was aware I was doing it. So it's not like I was unconscious of what I was doing. I knew what I was doing. And as I was doing it, the paradox and the contradiction struck me because I wasn't fully aware of all of the elements that went into me smoking. I wasn't sure, I wasn't super clear on why I was doing it or how I was doing it. Let's talk about that. When we think about our patterns, when we think about our levels of awareness of what we're doing, we can think of them in 4 different levels. So the first level would be that you're not aware. You don't know that you have a pattern. You're just aware of the consequences. This would be the equivalent of a bull running inside of a china shop, breaking everything. The bull leaves, and at this level of awareness, all it is that you've come into the china shop and you see things broken. And you come into the china shop every day, and every day you see things broken. So you just think that this is the nature of the china shop. The presumption here is that, well, the china shop always has broken china. And this is what it means to be a china shop. A real life example of this would be that if you have 1 or 2 bad partners, it could be like, well, the relationship didn't work out. It wasn't because of me. It was because they were a bad partner, for example. But now if you keep on, having bad relationships and bad partners, at some point you have to look at yourself. Maybe the problem isn't out there. Maybe the problem isn't here. Right? Like everyone else can't be wrong all the time. So at some point it's going to come back home. And that brings us to the second level of awareness. And that is that you realize that you are an active participant in your life and that you are contributing to your overall situation. You're contributing to it both in terms of what's happening and the events that are unfolding, but also in terms of how you're interpreting those events and your overall relationship with the situation. For example, when I was 19 years old, I had this epiphany, and that was that I had just moved to a new city, and before that, I thought I had everything figured out. Like probably most people or most teens, I thought I had it figured out. And so here I was living in this new city, and it took me, after some time being there, maybe about a year or so, I realized that I didn't have any friends. I didn't have a girlfriend. I had a hard time making money and getting good jobs, and I wasn't happy, right? And so after reflecting one day, I realized that it can't be that I have everything figured out, because if I have the world figured out, or if I have myself figured out, or if I have enough of it figured out, then I should be able to have a decent job, make decent money, have good relationships, have a girlfriend, and be happy. You would think that you could get those 4 things. But in my case, I was 0 for 4. And so I realized that I was part of the problem. So the first stage is that you have no idea what happened. Everything's just broken. The second stage is now you're aware that there's a bull in the china shop and that you are that bull. The bull here is your patterns. Now, the third stage of awareness is being aware while the thing is happening. So for example, you and your partner are in a fight, you're fighting with each other, and you're fighting about the same thing for like the 14th time. And while you're in the argument and you're playing out a pattern, and so is your partner, you realize what you're doing. You're realizing how you're contributing to breaking all the china in the china store. Now, while you're playing out that pattern, while you're super duper engaged in this unconscious activity, you're bringing consciousness into it by becoming aware as it's happening. And this is extremely powerful. Yet, there's nothing you can do about it because the energy is already there. This is like a tornado that has come and the energy is there and it's already picking everything up. And while the tornado's spinning, there's nothing you could do to stop it. The emotion is there. All you could do is watch, but watching is extremely powerful, as I'll show you. And then finally, there's the fourth stage of awareness. In this stage, you see the bull coming. He's over there across the street. He's ready to cross and he wants to come into the china. And you go and you lock the door. You don't let the bull in. This is the equivalency of you realizing the next time you and your partner are about to get into a fight, that morning you're feeling a little agitated. Maybe someone says something to you at work. Maybe things aren't going your way that morning. Maybe there was a couple of things that your partner did that triggered you and that you're feeling this emotion bubbling up and that you want to say something. And then you realize that it's these sort of emotions that you need to address. Otherwise, if you act out on them, you're going to be coming back into the same pattern. This is the equivalent of you seeing that the bull's coming and closing up the china shop. And then you haven't gone into the pattern. The bull has not entered the china shop and things are not broken. Okay? Those are the 4 stages. So how do we become more conscious? First, figure out where you are on those 4 stages. And second, you want to go from the first to the second stage, second to third to fourth. In some sense, we start with zero awareness or consciousness of our behavior. And then our behavior has consequences in the world. We experience those consequences. We think that those consequences belong to the world. Later on, we find out that we played a part. So we take ownership of our behavior, of our patterns. And then we start to inspect them. We turn our behavior, our patterns, we turn them into an object in our consciousness. We start to inspect it and to understand it. And when we do that, when we start to understand why we're doing it, we break it down. And when we break it down, we dissolve it and take it apart. How do we go through these steps? So first, becoming ultra aware of your patterns. I created a video that helps you discover and uncover patterns. The link is below. Also, I created a resource, The Game of Life, that helps you discover unconscious patterns. A great example of this is personality. You and your partner might be fighting with each other, and this is a common one, because of differences in personality. They might be more conscientious than you. What that means is they like it to be more clean and tidy. And when they see a mess, it gives them negative emotion, okay? And then it doesn't just happen like once or twice. It happens every single time. And so every single time that there's a little bit of a mess, they're the first to notice it. They're the first to feel it. And then you might engage into a debate. Oh, why didn't you clean the dishes? You can see how that's corrosive to a relationship. And you can discover some of these using The Game of Life. I have the description below. And so once you've started to discover your hidden patterns, here's what to do next. What you want to do is 2 things. First, you want to become super duper conscious of the pattern itself. And second, once you're super duper conscious of the pattern, you want to see where within these hidden structures, where it exists. Does it exist on the level of personality that we just talked about? Does it exist on the level of beliefs or the level of identity? And this way you know where to address change. Okay, now let's talk more deeply about how to become very conscious of the behavior itself. So here is what you can do. The first thing you want to do is you want to become as aware as possible by becoming the witness. You become the witness and you start watching that behavior, that pattern. And in the beginning, all you could do is watch it, because by the time you notice it, it's already there and you are engaged with it. The emotion is there. The tornado's spinning. What you need to do when the tornado's spinning is become the center of the tornado, become the eye of the storm, so you could watch the storm and you could learn from it. And what that means is that you're watching your thoughts and your feelings. You're watching and trying to notice what triggered you. And what is it that bothers you about what's happening? What are some of the beliefs that you have? Why are you engaging with it? What's motivating you to engage with it? What do you believe might happen if you do nothing? When it comes to your feelings, what are you feeling? What emotions are going through your body? And where in your body are you experiencing them? For example, I would notice if I'm feeling it in my chest, if I'm feeling it in my solar plexus. Now that I'm feeling it, what does it feel like? If it was a shape, if it was an object, what would this object look and feel like? Is this object dense? Is it doing anything? Is it pulsating, giving me a sharp pain? You can ask yourself, how do you know you're experiencing this emotion on a physical level? What physical sensations are you having? So knowing that is really, really powerful, because you could see how your thoughts about a situation impact your emotions about the situation and how you feel them physiologically. Now you're getting a chain, a sequence, and your triggers are often going to be thoughts, and they're also going to be feelings. So you might perceive something, and the way you think about that thing is going to lead to an emotion that you have, and that emotion becomes your reality, okay? And then you're reacting to your perceptions. In some sense, that's what we're doing. We're reacting to our own perceptions. This means essentially, in a very deep way, we are engaged and reacting to our own imagination. Let me give you an example with me and the smoking. When I was doing this, when I was smoking, going down to the basement after meditating a few hours and then having a cigarette, at first it was, what am I doing? But what's important here about this thought is that it tells you that it's not on the level of identity. I did not have the identity of a smoker. And so I did not need to address this on that level. The second thing is that I didn't think, oh, I can't quit or I shouldn't or anything like that. So it wasn't on the level of ability or capability. But it existed on two levels. One was it existed on the level of my beliefs and on the level of my imagination. Now, I was smoking very socially and from time to time. And so I didn't believe that it would have an impact on my life. And that belief contributed to the behavior. Since I believed that it wouldn't have much of an impact and it was just a fun thing to do because I'm doing it once in a while, no big deal, then it allowed for the behavior to take root. and so the first thing I started thinking about is this true? Is this actually true? And when I inspected it, I'm like, no, not really. It's not really true because it is having a negative impact on my relationships. You know, it's not like my partner sees me smoking and is excited about it. You know, from her point of view, she doesn't want to be with the smoker. Upon closer inspection, I was able to see how my beliefs were contributing to the behavior, and the things that I believed about my behavior were in fact not true. The second thing was, how was I doing it? And so what would happen is this. I would have an activity that would need, I would need to throw out the trash or something like that, so I would need to go to the basement. I would imagine myself smoking. I would imagine how relaxed that would be, the feeling of that first drag. I would imagine how great of an experience I would have. Because if you've ever been a smoker, or if you smoked, you know that there's some elements of the activity. It's almost a pranayama. It's almost a breathing exercise. It can be very soothing. In a very deep way, that's what cigarettes are. They're an object that helps with self-soothing. And it's an enjoyable activity. It involves your mouth. For me, it was very enjoyable. And so this was what I had in my imagination. I imagined myself going, lighting up, taking that first puff. It fills my lungs. I'm exhaling. I'm looking at the stars. I'm reflecting on life. And I'm having this great experience. And having this imagination is what I was trying to create by smoking. And so here, this is an example of your beliefs and your imagination coloring your actual reality. And so what I did was I actually compared my imagination to the reality. The reality was that I would light up. I would be in a rush because I needed to get back. It didn't feel so great. That first hit sometimes would make me a little dizzy. My lungs didn't feel good. It didn't smell great. The actual experience was far worse than what I imagined. What this means is that a couple of good experiences overwhelmingly represented this experience of smoking in such a positive light that it colored all of the experiences, even though it wasn't true. And so once I started to pay attention to my actual experience while I was engaging in smoking, what it was like to light up, what it was like to drag, how short it was like 2 minutes it would last, how it impacted the rest of my life, then it became very clear that the imagination was just imagination. It wasn't true. And so once I inspected it on these two levels, on the level of belief and on the level of imagination, the habit fell away. And what instead happened was that the reality replaced what was in my imagination before. And so now when I think about smoking, I don't imagine going and puffing and it being this. No, I imagine that, it's going to make me a little dizzy. It's a little disgusting. It makes me cringe a little bit. And this is a really powerful change. And it's all because of imagination. It's all on the level of imagination. And so when it comes to your patterns and your habits, generally, that's how they're going to work. There's going to be a motivating factor. It might be in your beliefs that you believe you must do something or you ought to do something or that bad things will happen if you don't do something. It might be in your values. You might value the thing and that's why you're doing it. And so it's motivating you. Your motivation might be because of your identity. This is who I am. And you do it. Or it might be because it goes beyond you. It's part of your purpose. It's how you serve. But there's a motivating factor. Even if it's a common drive, like you wanting to get a sandwich, triggers your imagination. And then you start to imagine yourself going to the fridge, looking. Then you're thinking, what do you want to eat? You picture yourself making a sandwich. You picture how delicious it's going to be. And as you're imagining all of this, it's creating enough motivation that you get up and you go to the fridge and you look. And then you're scouring the fridge for the very thing that you imagined so you can make yourself a sandwich. And that's how almost all of your behavior is going to be. You're going to have a motivating factor, something that triggers it. You're going to have something that you imagine. And then you're going to act out or respond or react to your own imagination. Okay, so let's put it all together now. So the first thing you want to do is you want to build and increase your awareness of hidden patterns. And I provided resources below for that. The second thing is you want to identify what level of awareness you have about the specific pattern or habit that you want to address. Are you aware of it while it's happening, or are you aware of it after it's happened already? Can you see it coming? Can you see how it's triggering you and how the way you're feeling and thinking might lead to that pattern or not? And then once you're aware of what level of awareness, you want to go to the next level. You want to increase your level of awareness. You want to at least come to the point where you know that the pattern is happening while it's happening, and to know all of the elements that are contributing to it in real time. Okay? You want to be able to kind of wake up while it's happening. Then inspect it as deeply as you can. You want to see what are your triggers that's triggering this pattern? What are your thoughts and feelings about it? What are your beliefs about this pattern? Why do you engage with it? You want to understand all of the things that are contributing to it, how you're helping create this pattern, and how you're doing it through your imagination. And so once you have a lot of insight into this, then the next piece is to understand on what level you need to apply change. Because if you want to change your behavior, for example, you can't change a behavior on the level of behavior. You can't decide that you're going to stop smoking by forcing yourself not to smoke. In the same way, you can't make yourself your very own slave. What you need is you need to understand why you can't do something. Is it because you don't have the capability or skill? Or is it maybe you don't have the motivation? Or maybe you have a limiting belief. And so there's going to be deeper layers that are motivating the behavior, because the behavior is not just happening on its own. So in the next video, we're going to talk about how to change. I'm going to show you exactly where you need to apply change, whether it's on a behavior level, whether it's on the level of belief, identity, or if you need to find motivation, where you can and how you can do that. So the link to that video is below, so you can watch that now. And I will see you in the next video. Hope you have a good rest of your day.